Guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. We are going to showcase a business for you today. Robby here with the Empower Project, and he's going to talk about what it is, how customers can benefit, and the wireless charging. It's going to be really interesting, and I'm happy to welcome Robby to the show. Welcome, Robby.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. Happy to be here today.
Yeah, this thing with the this with charging and batteries, especially with Teslas. So talk about your story and your background and what made you to start the Empower project.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, batteries have become very big business in the last decade, haven't they? Um, Not that they weren't big before, but it's just especially so with all the different new types of technology that are utilizing batteries. So it's been a very interesting space to be in. I started in 2012, really professionally in this space. And my specialty is in portable power for mobile devices. So really in the mobile accessory space. I started my company while I was in college here in Santa Barbara. It was FuelBox. We were kind of one of the early developers of portable batteries for phones and power banks and unique charging systems. And that's really how I cut my teeth in entrepreneurship, learning production methods and all the different aspects of hardware development and patent process and engineering and industrial design, et cetera. So really, it was a good place to start to understand business development, kind of 101, and learned a lot in the first few years, and was able to kind of get that venture off the ground with a crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo. We did, I think, 70 or $80,000 in a month, and that was a nice pre-order campaign. And what little do we know how much it really took to get into production, mass production, and develop, a hardware product from scratch. But we made it to market, and I started learning how to, kind of do marketing and sales of these types of products direct to consumers online and Amazon, and then moving into hospitality, working with different gifting groups and all different big Fortune 100 companies from Microsoft, Google, LG to different sectors of kind of gifting and MGM Grands and the Wyndhams and the Hyatts and the kind of Ritz-Carltons of the world. So that was kind of the second stage of was first it was direct consumer, then it was kind of B2B, and then I got introduced to doing work with the government through a FEMA funded program that Verizon actually organized that was specific to hurricane relief and disaster preparation and response, and that was called Operation Convergent Response, and that was a really neat experience because we were exposed to all different types of technologies and government organizations that were great customers to have and great groups to partner with to kind of figure out what's needed in these critical events and experiences for communities that go through really harsh weather activities. So that was back in 2017, and we were able to start working with different government agencies. So this little, mobile power company, accessory company went from, consumers to businesses to working with federal government organizations and Homeland Security and Department of Defense and, big business stuff. So it was really neat. And through that experience, I started another business that was complementary to FuelBox, and that was quite the venture and has gone quite well. And navigating the ins and outs of trying to be, kind of in a exit and sell the company or merge, started another company, tried to do a merger, and that was a lot of business experience through these activities. Back to the core principles of creating really well-designed mobile power products and having a purpose. So that's where the Empower project came to be, was really finding purpose and mission and like the why of what we do. And that was really found with doing the hurricane relief work. So when we got that opportunity to actually help people when they really needed it, when power's out, when the grids are going to be down for a while, and when people are in crisis, that's what really sparked the Empower project. And so we kind of followed like the Tom Shoe model, the buy one, donate one program, have created the Empower project to create cutting edge, beautiful, incredibly well designed power products just for our everyday life. And for everyone that we sell, we send a resilient, weatherproof solar battery pack to people that are in these areas affected by heavy weather. So that's the kind of humanitarian social impact model that we've adopted and are working off of. And we just launched this year, so it's a new company, and I get to do stuff like this to talk about it and share it with the world and what we're doing and why we're doing it. So that's kind of in a nutshell what brought me here today, and excited to answer all the questions you might have.
Yeah, and I see all the batteries. Looks like the batteries, two-way wireless chargers in the background there. One of the questions I have for you is you talked about the founding of it. What inspired it? Why do you how is the Empower Project different from the different battery companies, and how do your products, particularly the Survivor Pack, how do they make a difference in disaster zones?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of comparing us to any other mobile battery maker, we can do like feature comparisons, and like just from a usability standpoint, we have some unique features. Like you mentioned one of them, like our battery pack is the only one that has MagSafe wireless charging on the output and on the input. So, to be able to connect to other accessories magnetically, like wallets and car mounts and things like that, that's pretty neat. But you can actually recharge this battery from any inductive wireless charging dock, and we made one that's just specifically for that as well. So it's a two-part system that has that flow through power that no other battery bank has. But when it comes to comparing our company to, let's say, a Belkin or a Rav Power, Anchor, Mophie, we are specifically in business to support people in times of crisis, right? These other companies are in business to be in business to sell these batteries and to just, provide that service, right? Our product actually goes to support donations of these guys. And you have to experience it to know, but when your power's out and your house might be flooded, or your whole community is being flooded, or your houses are off the foundation, and there's like mass casualty events. So it's like, this is like critical, the worst of the worst kind of times for these folks. That's when power becomes incredibly critical and valuable. It could be the difference between life and death, right? So the carriers like Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile and whatnot, they are incredible at responding to these scenarios, because communications are the number one thing that needs to be restored and available for people to organize and respond, right? So they're really good at getting the networks up and running and resilient. They put up hot air balloons with all their equipment. They have all these different backup generators, and they're very well prepared for these kinds of things. But the power grids are still pretty far behind in terms of ability to be super resilient. So sometimes it can be days, weeks, up to months without power in some of these areas. So getting something like this that can be recharged from the sun and has a nice amount of battery capacity to keep your phones charged, because the grids could be up, or the grids could be down, but the cell networks are still up, so you can still get critical information. You could still organize with your family and friends and community to make sure you're safe. So getting these into the hands of those people before the disaster, during, or after. But really, we try to work with groups like Direct Relief and Verizon and other folks to help get these stocked in areas that are in preparation for. But we do direct response as well. So we ship boxes of these solar battery packs to areas or neighboring counties that still have shipping routes available in response, kind of like what World Central Kitchen does with food. We try to be with power. So we're a small group right now, but that's kind of like one of my idols is Jose Andres and what they're doing. World Central Kitchen really trying to, because food is essential, power is essential. And power on a personal level, these are useful. We're going to be expanding our donations to different types of personal power, but this is just the tool that we're using right now. And so that's kind of how we respond. And that's as far as I know, we're the only mobile battery accessory company that's doing anything like this. So it's nice to stand on that, and that's central to the Empower project and what we're doing.
Yeah, interesting. And so, we'll talk about the innovation behind the two-way wireless charging. It's quite interesting how, your company is a kind of a mission and mission-based focused, company. And, for people in distress. And, it's interesting because, in Texas, we have a power grid separate from and then especially in the summertime, this power grid can go out. So it's like very important. And then there's things there where they're looking into like Bitcoin miners providing like critical energy infrastructure. It looks like your company is doing that. So yeah, quick question is, this is a startup. So I assume you raised angel or venture, or is it crowdfunding? Just kind of the nuts and bolts of funding your company.
Yeah, so like all the other aspects of the business, that's been a journey in developing the education around fundraising and whatnot. We've done initially we were able to raise like $50,000 in seed capital just from kind of friends and family and folks that were interested in what we were doing around the school.
Yeah.
And then we did a crowdfunding campaign that was another, $80,000 or so. And then we went into kind of our first real seed round that was about $500,000, and that took us like a year or two really to close that. So we were really scrappy, just bootstrap trying to make it happen. We started getting some traction. We were able to raise another seed round. That was another like $500,000, $500,000 to $1 million or so. And that was over a period of time. And so we were really scrappy, really bootstrapped for years and years. And we've been one of those groups that haven't gone out to VCs and raised a lot of money. And this is kind of, it's brought us all the way to today. We were able to get contracts that were, large enough to kind of create a somewhat sustainable business. We went through an acquisition opportunity that was a big learning experience because I went all in on that, and that was my focus. And after all was said and done, it didn't end up coming together. And that was even after, we had a signing party, we had all these letters of intent for, spaces that we were going to be operating from as a new division of this company, and, employment agreements, and everything was done. Everything was done. And then and the money never showed up, and it was a nightmare. And so it was back to the drawing board. Yeah, I've done a few podcasts in depth on the specifics around all that.
Yeah.
But just to keep it brief, it was kind of a character building opportunity where it's like, all right, this is when you're looking for an exit or you have opportunities to be acquired, like you still have to run your business. You still have to stay focused on your principles, and if that happens, great, but don't get too distracted by it. So I was able to land a couple contracts that gave us life through during COVID, and now we're in a place where it's like we haven't had to go out to the money markets at all, but we're in a space where we're just looking for kind of one big distribution partner, which we have some pretty exciting stuff in the works. And so once that distribution partner is locked in, we'll go out for another round of capital, and it'll probably be kind of like our first official Series A, Series A kind of round, like probably like a $5 million raise. So where we can actually scale up some of the operations. But because we're kind of like a nonprofit for-profit hybrid, almost like becoming a public benefit corporation is something that's in our sights. And I'm not familiar with the fundraising opportunities around public benefit corporations, but I do know that like this work's very important to us. And when we get the stories of people's lives that we really impacted, it's very meaningful. So, my hope is that we become kind of the go-to power partner for disaster relief from, internationally. It's a huge opportunity. And to be able to also still be a consumer company, like, and with like my attention to design details is something that I feel like will go a long way with the kind of user experience. And so I'm hopeful that we can become one of the major providers of your charging products that are going to be like, my goal is to be like the Dyson of our category, right? Like
Yeah.
Dyson made vacuuming like fun, right? Made it like a dopamine release when you're actually using their products. And that's how I'd like to be when use our charging products, where it's actually like a relieving kind of enjoyable experience, which is something that we can't sit, even with all the different tech out there, there's not a lot, there's an opportunity here. So that's kind of my goal. And in order to do that, we'll definitely need some strategic capital. But we're still in a very small stage. So, that the next round would probably looks like something like 5 million, which would hopefully scale us up to, like 25 to 50 million in revenue. And then kind of move up to that next level of a private equity opportunity, to, consolidate with other groups and go from there. So, my kind of goal over the next few years is to get that distribution, be able to build a team a little bit more out, still keep a pretty small team, but raise a little bit of strategic capital, and then scale to a stage where a private equity group would like to kind of take us to a roll up, strategy, go public, something like that. So that's kind of where we're at. And if I do a fundraise, in the next 6 to 18 months, I'll let you guys know. I know your network is very interested in that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that seems to be your focus, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always interested in just hearing about early stage startups. And, if, the products are really interesting. You got the Empower Pack, Empower Dock, Survivor Pack. And, recently, because, my iPhones, I usually, they got usually a 5 year, and then I usually have to switch them out because the battery or just it doesn't, the tech changes so much. So, but it's quite interesting, how these packs. So, what other products? I mean, looks like you got your core products, and or I mean, you don't have to give away the secret sauce, but if you're looking to expand into other products or other tech, and how can people find you and check out your project and work?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, the empowerproject.com is our domain, so it's pretty simple. And then on all the social media, like on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, we're at the Empower Project Global. So that's, we're easy to find there. You can directly contact us through any of those sites.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of, we're going to be focused on very minimal product offerings, so we won't have a huge line of different options, but very intentional, very specifically designed, kind of for our everyday needs with the Empower product line. We have on the other side of the business, which is working with kind of tactical users and more military and kind of government agencies like that. That's a different product line, and that's where some of the technology gets pretty cool,
Yeah.
practical for daily civilian life. Like, for example, we did a project with Homeland Security that was, like this wearable for like, it would be on their Molly vests, and their phone slips inside there and charges wirelessly, and you got the solar battery pack. But it's like, this is a big bulky kind of product that doesn't make sense for an everyday user. But that was a project we did with Homeland Security, and we have some pretty cool opportunities to work with big DoD agencies on wearable power. So there's some pretty cool. I mean, there's some companies out there that are doing conductive textile material. So I think, like, in terms of the future of power and personal power use, which is really our area of focus, we can easily go into like solar and home batteries and car battery support. And there's like, those are areas that we have to kind of say no to, because there are opportunities, and people, definitely contact us for different types of opportunities, but we really have to try to stay focused, like personal power use, and then cater to the customers that we work within. So for the DoD and tactical kind of opportunities, we're looking at like what can be the lightest, most efficient, safest, and longest lasting sustainable battery options for all of their power needs, not just their communication devices, primary and secondary, but also their optical and lighting and kind of other strategic equipment power needs. So we're looking at kind of like the holistic, like what's a soldier carry and how much power do they need for, XYZ days. And so there's some pretty cool stuff with textile conductivity within textiles that we're working with some specialty companies on. Different types of battery cells that, when punctured, still function and don't cause any like flammability issues, or just stop working. So we're looking at different flexible battery cells that use graphene and that have like solid state capabilities versus kind of the lithium ion state batteries that we're working with now. So there's some pretty cool stuff and pretty cool tech if you like to nerd out on tech like I do. There's some cool stuff that we're working on with different companies there. But those are long-term projects, and they're different than what we'll be offering to the public. But ultimately that does trickle down into our technology with that we use today. So in our everyday lives. So we'll see how that translates. But right now it's we're pretty much what you see is what you get, and we're going to be continuously making revisions and improvements to the user experience with our current product set. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Nice. Yeah, for all the audience, let's thank Robby for coming on and talking about this really interesting work. I love love talking to startup founders and solving problems, and be sure to give his website, all of his socials, check out, like, and follow. And thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you too, Chris. We'll have to come back together in a few months and see where we're at. So
Yeah.
thanks. And if any of you or your listeners have opportunities for us to collaborate, please give me a